Marcus Sterling's Bentley glided through the gates of his Beverly Hills mansion at 11:47 p.m. The billionaire tech mogul had cut his Tokyo merger short, eager to surprise his 9-year-old daughter Emma with her favorite Japanese candy. But as his key turned in the lock, the sound that greeted him turned his blood to ice. Crying! His daughter's crying. Marcus burst through the front door and froze. Emma sat curled on their white leather sofa, a purple bruise blooming across her cheeks, scratches marking her small arms. Standing over her hand, raised in what looked like a striking position, was Zara Johnson, their live-in housekeeper. "Get away from my daughter!" Marcus's roar shattered the silence like thunder. Zara spun around, her dark eyes wide with shock. "Mr. Sterling? You're home early? Please let me explain." "Explain what? That you are hitting my child." Marcus swept Emma into his arms, his heart hammering as he felt her tiny body trembling. "Baby, what did she do to you? Tell Daddy what happened." Emma looked up through tear-soaked lashes, her voice barely a whisper. She got really mad when I broke Mommy's jewelry box. She hit me, Daddy. She said I was a bad girl." The words hit Marcus like physical blows. Everything he'd feared about hiring Zara, every doubt, every suspicion he'd tried to suppress, crystallized into white-hot rage. "You're fired! Pack your things and get out of my house, now!" But as Zara backed toward the door, something in her expression stopped him cold. Not guilt, not shame, but a look of profound betrayal and disappointment. "Mr. Sterling," she said quietly, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "Ask Emma what really happened to that jewelry box. Ask her why she's really hurt. And ask yourself why you believe the worst about me without even asking for my side." As the door closed behind Zara, Marcus had no idea that he had just made the most catastrophic mistake of his life, and what he was about to discover would force him to confront the ugliest truths about himself and the deadly power of assumptions. The most shocking revelation was still to come, and 3 months earlier, Marcus Sterling stood in his floor-to-ceiling office windows, watching the Los Angeles skyline stretch endlessly before him. At 41, he controlled a tech empire worth $6.8 billion. His apps ran on half the smartphones in America. Forbes called him the king of digital innovation. But success had come at a devastating price. 18 months ago, his wife Sophia had died in a car accident during one of his business trips. She'd been rushing to pick up Emma from school, rushing because Marcus was supposed to do it, but had gotten delayed in a merger meeting. The guilt nearly destroyed him. The grief definitely destroyed Emma. His once bright, bubbly daughter had become a silent shadow of herself. She barely spoke, refused to play with friends, and seemed to blame Marcus for everything, especially for not being there when Mommy died. Marcus had tried everything. Child psychologists, expensive nannies, private schools. Nothing worked. Emma was angry, defiant, and seemed determined to push away anyone who tried to care for her. That's when his assistant Jennifer suggested Zara Johnson. "Sir, I know you've struggled with caregivers for Emma. My cousin works with someone who has an incredible reputation with difficult children. Her name is Zara Johnson." Marcus studied the resume Jennifer handed him. Zara was 29, held a master's in child psychology, and had 8 years of experience with high-profile families. Her references were flawless. But when Zara arrived for the interview, Marcus felt that familiar knot in his stomach. She was tall, elegant, with natural hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through him. Everything about her radiated competence and confidence. Maybe that's what made him uncomfortable. "Ms. Johnson," Marcus said as they sat in his home office, "I need to be direct. Emma has been challenging since her mother died. Previous caregivers have found her impossible to manage. Are you certain you can handle a child with severe behavioral issues?" Zara looked at him calmly. "Mr. Sterling, Emma isn't impossible. She's a little girl processing trauma in the only way she knows how. Children her age often express grief through anger and defiance. I specialize in helping children find healthier ways to cope with loss. And you're comfortable with live-in arrangements. The position requires 6 days a week, Sundays off." "Absolutely. I have a teenage son who stays with my mother on weekends, So the schedule works perfectly. Marcus found himself scrutinizing every word, every gesture. Was she really qualified for such responsibility? Could he trust her with Emma, his most precious treasure? Ms. Johnson, I have to ask, have you ever had any incidents with previous employers? Any complaints? For just a moment, something flickered in Zara's eyes. Hurt, maybe, but her voice remained steady. No, sir. All my references can speak to my professionalism. I've never had complaints about my work or my interactions with children. Marcus hired her partly out of desperation, partly because her credentials were undeniable. But he made his expectations crystal clear. Ms. Johnson, Emma is my entire world. If anything happens to her, anything at all, you'll be held responsible. Is that understood? Crystal clear, Mr. Sterling. From day one, Marcus watched Zara like a hawk. He installed security cameras in common areas. He called home, constantly checking on Emma's activities. He questioned Emma extensively each night about her interactions with Zara. How was your day with Zara, sweetheart? Fine, I guess. Emma would mumble, not understanding why Daddy seemed so worried. She didn't yell at you, didn't make you do anything you didn't want to. Emma would shake her head, confused by the questions. Marcus couldn't help himself. Every evening he reviewed security footage, looking for signs of mistreatment. Every morning he searched Emma's arms and face for unexplained marks. Every conversation with Zara felt like an interrogation. Zara noticed the surveillance but tried to focus on her job. And Emma was indeed a challenge. The little girl was angry at the world. She threw tantrums when asked to do homework. She refused to eat meals Zara prepared. She would scream, "I want my mommy," and throw things when frustrated. But Zara didn't take any of it personally. Emma, I know you're angry, Zara would say during one of Emma's meltdowns. Can you tell me what you're feeling right now? I hate you, Emma would scream. I want my mommy to come back. I know you miss your mommy. That's okay. It's normal to feel angry when someone you love can't be with you anymore. Your mommy loved you so much. Slowly, so slowly, Emma began to respond to Zara's patience. The tantrums became less frequent. Emma started doing her homework without fights. She even began to smile occasionally, especially when Zara helped her with art projects or read her bedtime stories. But instead of being pleased, Marcus became more suspicious. It's not natural, he muttered to himself, watching footage of Zara and Emma laughing together over a puzzle. Kids don't just suddenly start behaving without some kind of manipulation. His business partner David noticed Marcus's obsession. Marcus, you're losing your mind with all this surveillance. The woman has perfect references. Emma is obviously happier. What exactly is your problem? Marcus couldn't articulate it without sounding prejudiced, so he deflected. I don't trust her. Something feels off. What feels off? Her qualifications, her performance, the fact that she's actually helping Emma heal. Marcus had no answer because the truth was too ugly to admit, even to himself. As weeks turned to months, Emma transformed before everyone's eyes. The angry, withdrawn little girl began laughing again. She made friends at school. She talked about her mother in positive ways instead of just expressing rage about her death. Most tellingly, Emma had developed a genuine affection for Zara. She would run to Zara when upset, seek her opinion on important things, and even call her Miss Zara with obvious love. This closeness between Emma and Zara made Marcus deeply uncomfortable. Emma seems very attached to Zara, Marcus mentioned to his therapist during a session. That's wonderful, Marcus. It sounds like Zara is providing Emma with the stable, nurturing relationship she needs to process her grief. But what if Emma becomes too dependent? What if she starts seeing Zara as a replacement for Sophia? Marcus' children can love multiple adults without it diminishing their love for their parents. Zara isn't replacing Sophia. She's helping Emma learn to trust and connect again. The therapist's words didn't ease Marcus's fears. If anything, they intensified them. Marcus began creating rules designed to limit Zara's influence. Zara, I don't want you disciplining Emma anymore. If she misbehaves, call me. Zara, Emma doesn't need help with homework. I'll handle it when I get home. Zara, I prefer you don't take Emma anywhere without my explicit permission. Zara followed these rules without complaint, but she could see how they affected Emma. The little girl was confused about why Zara suddenly seemed less involved in her life. Emma started acting out again, testing boundaries, and seeking the guidance she'd grown to depend on. "Miss Zara, why can't you help me with my math anymore?" Emma asked one afternoon. "Your daddy wants to help you himself," Zara explained gently. "But daddy's always in meetings and you explain things so much better." Zara's heart broke for this little girl, caught between her father's paranoia and her own need for stability. The crisis came on a Tuesday in November, the first anniversary of Sophia's death. Marcus was supposed to be in Tokyo for 3 days, but the meetings concluded early. He decided to fly home and surprise Emma, maybe take her somewhere special to help her through this difficult day. What Marcus didn't know was that Emma was already struggling with intense emotions she couldn't process. That morning, she had found her mother's antique music jewelry box, a delicate piece Sophia had treasured sitting on a high shelf in the living room. Emma had been trying to reach it because hearing the melody reminded her of Mommy singing lullabies. But in her attempt to climb up and touch it, she knocked it over. The jewelry box shattered into pieces, its beautiful melody silenced forever. Emma was devastated. The jewelry box was one of the last tangible connections to her mother, and she knew Daddy would be heartbroken. When Zara found Emma sobbing over the broken pieces, she immediately shifted into comfort mode. "Oh, sweetheart, it's okay. Accidents happen." "No, it's not okay," Emma sobbed. "This was Mommy's special music box. Daddy's going to hate me." Zara knelt and gathered Emma into her arms. "Honey, your daddy could never hate you. He loves you more than any music box." But Emma was inconsolable. In her grief and panic, she began hitting herself, behaviors she sometimes exhibited when overwhelmed. I'm so stupid, Emma cried, striking her own face with small fists. Zara gently caught Emma's hands. "Emma, stop. You're not stupid. You're a beautiful little girl who misses her mommy. But hurting yourself won't bring her back or fix the music box." In her distress, Emma had scratched her own face with her fingernails and bumped her head when she collapsed, crying. Zara spent 2 hours comforting Emma, cleaning her scratches, and helping her process the overwhelming emotions. "Miss Zara, what if Daddy doesn't love me anymore because I broke Mommy's music box?" "Oh, Emma, your daddy will always love you no matter what. Sometimes when people are sad about losing someone, they get extra upset about losing things that remind them of that person. But that doesn't mean they stop loving their children." Zara was helping Emma practice what she would say to her father when Marcus walked through the front door. From Marcus's perspective, the scene looked damning. Emma injured and crying, Zara standing over her, the broken jewelry box on the floor. Every suspicion, every fear, every ugly assumption crystallized into absolute certainty that Zara had abused his daughter. And Emma, still devastated about the jewelry box and terrified of her father's reaction, made a split-second decision that would change everything. She lied. "Daddy, Zara hurt me. She got mad because I broke Mommy's music box and she hit me." The words exploded through Marcus like shrapnel. Everything he'd suspected was true. Zara had been abusing Emma, and he'd been too blind to see it. "You're fired. Get out of my house immediately, and if you ever come near my daughter again, I'll have you arrested." As Zara gathered her belongings, her face showed a mixture of shock and profound betrayal. She had spent months caring for this child, helping her heal, building trust and affection. "Mr. Sterling," Zara said with quiet dignity, "ask Emma what really happened to that jewelry box. Ask her why she's really hurt, and ask yourself why you believe the worst about me without asking for my side." Within hours of Zara's departure, Marcus was on the phone with his lawyer. "I need to file a report with Child Protective Services. My daughter's caregiver was abusing her." Marcus slowed down. "Tell me exactly what you saw." As Marcus recounted events, his lawyer asked probing questions. "Did you actually see her hit Emma?" "I saw her standing over Emma while Emma was injured and crying." "Did you take Emma to a doctor to document the injuries?" Marcus paused. "Not yet, but I will." "Marcus, before you file any reports, take Emma to a pediatrician. Get a professional assessment. You want solid evidence before you accuse someone of child abuse." The next morning, Dr. Patricia Chen examined Emma, carefully documenting every mark and scratch. Marcus sat nearby, confident the medical evidence would prove Zara's guilt. But as Dr. Chen completed her examination, her expression grew puzzled. Mr. Sterling, I need to ask specific questions about how these injuries occurred. Zara hit her, Marcus said firmly. She was angry about something broken and lost her temper. Chen studied her notes, then looked at Emma. Emma, can you show me exactly where Zara hit you? Emma fidgeted uncomfortably, pointing vaguely at her face. She hit me here. Dr. Chen examined the scratches more closely. These marks are consistent with fingernail scratches, but they appear to be self-inflicted. The angle and depth suggest someone clawing at their own face. Marcus felt his confidence waver. What do you mean, self-inflicted? The bruise on her forehead appears to be from falling or bumping into furniture. And these scratches... Dr. Chen gently lifted Emma's hands. There's dried blood under her fingernails that matches the scratches on her face. The room fell silent. Furthermore, Dr. Chen continued, if an adult had struck Emma with enough force to cause these injuries, I would expect different patterns. Hand-shaped bruises, swelling marks, consistent with being grabbed or shaken. What I'm seeing looks more like the result of an emotional breakdown where a child hurt themselves. Marcus stared at his daughter, who was now crying quietly. Emma, tell Dr. Chen the truth. What really happened? Emma looked up at her father with tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, Daddy. I lied. Zara didn't hit me. I hurt myself because I was so scared about breaking Mommy's music box. Marcus felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. I was trying to hear Mommy's song, and I knocked it over, and it broke into a million pieces. I was so scared you would hate me that I started hitting myself. Zara tried to stop me from hurting myself. She was hugging me when you came home. Dr. Chen nodded grimly. That's consistent with what I'm seeing medically. Mr. Sterling, I'm required to file a report with Child Protective Services, but not for the reasons you expected. I have to report that a child was brought in with false accusations against a caregiver. As they left the doctor's office, Marcus felt physically sick. Emma, why did you lie about Zara? Emma was crying harder now. Because I was so scared about the music box, Daddy. I thought you would be so mad at me. And when you started yelling at Zara, I thought if I said she did it, you wouldn't be mad at me anymore. Marcus realized with horror that his daughter had learned to lie and manipulate to avoid his anger. What kind of father had he become? And Zara was really trying to help you. Yes, Daddy. Zara is nice to me. She helps me when I miss Mommy. She never gets mad at me even when I'm bad. She was telling me everything would be okay when you came home. Marcus sat in his car holding his crying daughter, realizing he had committed one of the worst injustices of his life. Zara Johnson, a woman who had dedicated months to helping his grieving daughter heal, had been falsely accused, publicly humiliated, and fired based on nothing more than his racist assumptions. Marcus spent the next 3 days desperately trying to find Zara, but she had vanished. Her phone was disconnected. Her apartment was empty. None of her references knew where she'd gone. Emma, meanwhile, was devastated by Zara's absence. The progress she'd made was unraveling quickly. She stopped eating, had nightmares, and kept asking when Miss Zara was coming back. Daddy, I want to tell Zara I'm sorry for lying, Emma said one evening. I want her to come home. I'm trying to find her sweetheart. But she might not want to come back after what we did to her. Finally, Marcus hired a private investigator. Mr. Sterling, Zara Johnson is staying at a women's shelter downtown. She lost her apartment because she couldn't pay rent without income. She's been working temp jobs at minimum wage to support herself and her son. Marcus felt ashamed beyond words. His false accusations had destroyed not just Zara's job, but her entire financial stability. There's more, the investigator continued. Word about the abuse allegations spread through the domestic worker community. Even though no charges were filed, Zara is having trouble finding employment because families are afraid to hire her. Marcus realized his moment of prejudiced rage had potentially destroyed Zara's entire career. Marcus found Zara at a community center where she was volunteering to help other women find employment. When she saw him approaching, her face hardened with weariness and pain. Mr. Sterling, what do you want? Marcus had rehearsed this conversation countless times, but facing Zara, words seemed inadequate. Zara, I came to apologize, and to tell you the truth about what happened that day. Zara crossed her arms. The truth. The truth is that you saw a black woman with your injured white daughter and immediately assumed I was abusing her. The truth is that you fired me without asking for my side. The truth is that your assumptions cost me my job, my home, and my reputation. Marcus felt each word like a physical blow. You're right about all of it. I was prejudiced. I was wrong. And there's no excuse for what I did to you. And now what? You want to feel better by apologizing? No, Marcus said quietly. I want to try to make this right if that's even possible. Marcus told Zara about Emma's medical examination, about his daughter's confession, about the real story of that day. Zara listened without expression, but Marcus could see tears forming. Emma has been heartbroken since you left, Marcus continued. She wants to apologize herself, and I want to offer you your job back with a substantial raise and a formal letter clearing your name. Zara was quiet for a long moment. Mr. Sterling, do you understand what you put me through? Do you understand that there are women in this shelter who've been falsely accused and can never find work again? Your assumptions didn't just hurt me, they perpetuated a system that makes it dangerous for women like me to work for families like yours. Marcus nodded miserably. I know, and I want to do whatever I can to fix it. I don't know if it can be fixed, Zara said sadly. The damage is done. But then she looked at Marcus with something that might have been compassion. However, I do care about Emma. And if she's struggling because of what happened, maybe we can find a way to help her heal. Zara agreed to return, but with conditions. Marcus would undergo racial bias training. He would write public recommendations acknowledging his mistake. And most importantly, he would never again question Zara's interactions with Emma based on assumptions. The reunion between Zara and Emma was both heartwarming and heartbreaking. Emma threw herself into Zara's arms, sobbing apologies. I'm so sorry I lied, Miss Zara. I was scared and I made Daddy think you hurt me. I'm sorry. Zara held the little girl and cried with her. I forgive you, Emma. I understand why you were scared. Sometimes when we're afraid, we make mistakes. The important thing is learning from them. But rebuilding trust between Marcus and Zara proved much harder. Zara was professional and competent, but the warmth that had once characterized their relationship was gone. Zara, Marcus said one evening, I know I have no right to ask this, but how can I prove I've changed? How can I earn back your trust? Zara looked at him thoughtfully. Mr. Sterling, trust isn't earned with grand gestures. Trust is rebuilt through consistent actions over time. You need to show me and Emma that you see me as a full human being, not a threat to be monitored. As Zara predicted, word of the false accusations had spread. Marcus began receiving calls from advocacy groups and journalists. Mr. Sterling, said Carmen Rodriguez from the Domestic Workers Alliance. We're hearing disturbing reports about your employee, Zara Johnson. Would you speak publicly about the situation? Marcus knew going public would be embarrassing and potentially damaging to his business, but it was the right thing to do. At a press conference, Marcus stood beside Zara and publicly acknowledged his mistake. I falsely accused Zara Johnson of child abuse based on prejudiced assumptions, Marcus told the assembled crowd. I saw a black woman with my injured daughter and immediately believed the worst without asking questions. My actions were wrong, harmful, and rooted in racial bias that I'm committed to changing. The press conference sparked widespread conversations about racial prejudice in domestic work and the vulnerability of domestic workers to false accusations. Over the following months, something unexpected happened. Marcus, Zara, and Emma began forming a new kind of family, not based on traditional roles, but on mutual respect, shared commitment to Emma's well-being, and the hard work of healing. Marcus made genuine efforts to address his racial biases through education and therapy. He funded scholarship programs for domestic workers and became an advocate for legal protections. Zara began to see Marcus's efforts as genuine rather than performative. She watched him struggle with uncomfortable truths and respected his commitment to becoming better. Emma thrived. She learned important lessons about honesty and consequences while having two adults model how to make amends and work toward forgiveness. Miss Zara, Emma said one evening during homework. I'm glad you came back. I'm glad I came back too, Emma. Daddy's different now. He's nicer to you and nicer to me too. Zara smiled. People can change Emma when they want to badly enough. 6 months after the incident, Zara approached Marcus with an idea. Mr. Sterling, I've been thinking. The women's shelter where I stayed, they need resources. Job training, childcare, legal support. What if we created something to help families like mine? Marcus immediately saw the value. What did you have in mind? A community center providing support for working families, especially domestic workers, job training, legal aid, childcare, financial literacy, a place where people can get help without judgment. Marcus agreed to fund the project and insisted Zara be the director. This is your vision, Zara. You should lead it. The Sterling Johnson Community Center opened a year later, providing services to hundreds of families. It became a model for other cities and a testament to what could be accomplished when people committed to turning mistakes into positive change. At the opening ceremony, Zara spoke to a crowd of community members and media. This center exists because someone was willing to admit they were wrong and work to make it right, Zara said, looking at Marcus and Emma in the audience. But more than that, it exists because we all have the power to turn our pain into purpose, our mistakes into motivation for justice. Marcus stood watching Zara speak with pride and admiration. The woman he had once unjustly accused had become not just a caregiver for his daughter, but a leader in their community and a catalyst for change. Success came with challenges. As the center gained prominence, they received anonymous threats. You're a race traitor. Read one message to Marcus's office. Zara received even more disturbing messages. Know your place. Stop making trouble. But they refused to let fear control them. If we hide from these threats, we're letting them win, Zara said. Emma is watching how we respond to adversity. What do we want to teach her? They addressed the threats publicly while continuing their work, showing Emma that courage meant standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. 3 years after the incident that nearly destroyed them, Emma graduated from middle school as valedictorian. She was chosen to give the graduation speech. Standing at the podium, Emma looked confident and mature beyond her 12 years. 3 years ago, I made a terrible mistake, Emma began. I lied about someone who was trying to help me, and that lie almost destroyed her life. It taught me the most important lesson I've ever learned, that our words have power to hurt or heal, and we must choose carefully. Emma found Marcus and Zara in the crowd. My dad and Zara taught me that when we make mistakes, we have 3 choices: pretend it didn't happen, feel sorry for ourselves, or work to make things better. I learned that making things better is hard work, but it's the only choice that leads to real healing. After the ceremony, Marcus and Zara stood watching Emma celebrate with classmates. You should be proud, Zara told Marcus. She's become an incredible young woman. We should be proud, Marcus corrected. Emma is who she is because of both of us. Zara smiled. You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm grateful for what happened 3 years ago. Marcus looked surprised. Grateful. Not grateful for the pain, but grateful for the growth. Emma learned about honesty and consequences. You learned about prejudice and privilege. I learned about forgiveness and resilience. And together we learned that families can be created in the most unexpected ways. On the 3rd anniversary of that terrible day, they marked it not with sadness, but with celebration. They volunteered at the community center, working alongside families helped by Zara's programs. Then they visited the memorial garden they'd planted for Sophia, placing fresh flowers and talking about how proud she would be. Miss Zara, Emma said as they sat in the garden, do you think my mom would like you? Zara smiled. I think your mom would want what's best for you, Emma. And I hope she'd see that you're loved and cared for. I think she'd like that you and Daddy are friends now, instead of fighting. Marcus laughed. We never fought, sweetheart. We just had to learn to trust each other. And now we're a family, Emma said with satisfaction. Marcus and Zara looked at each other over Emma's head. They were indeed a family, not the traditional kind, but something beautiful that had grown from their worst moments. As the sun set, Marcus, Zara, and Emma walked home together. They had community meetings that evening advocating for working families. Emma would do homework while they worked, and Zara would help with math as she had countless times before. It was an ordinary evening in an extraordinary family, forged not through blood or marriage, but through the hard work of forgiveness, growth, and commitment to justice. "Daddy," Emma said as they reached their door, "I'm glad you came home early that day." Marcus was surprised, even though it caused so much trouble, because it taught us how to be better people, and because it brought Miss Zara into our family forever. Zara squeezed Emma's hand. "Forever is a long time, Emma." "I know," Emma said confidently, "but some families are worth forever." They entered their home together, the billionaire who learned to confront his prejudices, the woman who turned injustice into activism, and the girl who learned that truth and love were more powerful than fear. The shocking moment when Marcus found Zara with his injured daughter had nearly destroyed them all. But from that destruction, they built something stronger and more beautiful than any of them could have imagined. Their story was proof that even the worst mistakes can become foundations for meaningful growth, and that the courage to face our flaws can lead us to the love we never knew we needed. If you enjoyed this story of redemption, healing, and the power of chosen family, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales of love conquering prejudice.